Man, I feel like we took a big fat step down with the last couple SummerSlams, and now we got this one. SummerSlam 2004 was an awful show. I just feel like nothing was memorable outside of the end, and even then, we're not supposed to remember what happened at the end because of the champion involved. But this show, I'm just like, what were they thinking? They have top guys. They just didn't know how to utilize them and spread them out. And there was still a lot of meat left in the bones for some storylines, particularly JBL and Eddie Guerrero. They wrapped it up at Great American Bash instead. We had other cool stuff with the cruiserweight division, and then the cruiserweight champion is instead tagging with the Dudleys to fight three other guys, two of which are the SmackDown WWE Tag Team Champions. And overall, I was just like, what were they thinking? And then to top it off, JBL, who I liked as WWE champion, I liked as a character. He just had some awful matches, and I think they were supposed to be bad on purpose, but they still, like, I wasn't too high on this show. Nothing intrigued me outside of the main event. We kick off the show with the Dudley Boys versus Rey Mysterio, Paul London, and Billy Kidman. And this was just their way of just having these guys involved because they were strong names, but they just didn't want to put a tag team match or a cruiserweight match. Like, they just threw all these guys together, and then in the process, we got the Dudley Boys winning with Spike being the leader of all of them. It was very weird, and it just like Spike Dudley is what Scrappy Doo is to the Scooby Doo franchise. If I'm being honest, I like Spike, but this is essentially what he felt like in this match. Then we have one of the most awkward matches of all time. Kane versus Matt Hardy in a Till Death Do Us Part match where the winner gets to marry Lita. I think around this time Lita was injured, which led to the eventual real life affair with Edge and Lita. Matt Hardy was getting released little by little, and they gave us this garbage match, which, I mean, it was going to lead to Kane and Lita, who they have a baby, which Snakes kicks. It was just, what the hell were they thinking? Who was smoking weed in the writer's room? Like, this was just insane and stupid, and it just threw me off of the match knowing what is the outcome of all of this. And then to top it off, they try to make Kane the good guy after Edge steals Lita from Kane, who in real life stole from Matt Hardy. It was just like a big what the hell, and I just don't like this. John Cena beat Booker T, but he still wasn't the United States champion. This was a best of five series for the U.S. Championship. I like best of five, best of sevens, but not for a title. It's too distracting. I feel like it should be for like a contendership or something to that extent. But here it was just like, it was kind of awkward because like John Cena won, but he didn't win the belt. If anything, I would have just had this just be Cena Booker 1-on-1, and then there was no need for the whole best of five series. Um, and also, this match was really short. It was only 6 minutes, so they didn't really have time to like really build themselves up. And I thought Booker T was gonna be moving on to the WWE Championship. This was a tweener. You thought Big Show and Kane were tweeners. Booker T was a super tweener around this period. This was weird, but Edge beat Chris Jericho and Batista, and this was weird because Batista was the clear heel, but he was being cheered for like a babyface. Edge and Chris Jericho, both Canadians. The show is in Canada, and they're getting booed, and it just showed me that I'm just like, what is going on with the crowd? I think people weren't ready to accept Edge as one of their top faces. Jericho was uh, face slash heel. I think Chris Jericho just works better as a heel. He will admit that. And then Batista was just like this running up and comer, practically what Roman Reigns was supposed to be in 2015. And Edge wins, but then he gets hurt, which leads to an awesome ladder match at Unforgiven 2004. Very underrated match. You should go out of your way and watch. But this, It was just Batista beating the crap out of Jericho and Edge for most of the match, and then Edge sneaks out the victory. The face, remind you. Kurt Angle defeated Eddie Guerrero. I think it was just his way to get his victory back from WrestleMania 20. Personally, I think JBL and Eddie still had a lot of meat left in their storyline. They should have had like a last man standing match later on in the show. That would have been really cool. And then Kurt Angle could have been the one facing The Undertaker. Put his SmackDown GM position on the line. You basically helped the show a lot. This match overall was good, but you can tell people were sick and tired of watching Eddie and Kurt wrestle. Their chemistry was there at WrestleMania 20. They definitely showed it, but here, I don't know, man. It was just like an okay match. Triple H fought Eugene in a 14-minute match. Yes, even if Triple H is fighting a goofy, dorky character, Triple H needs to have one of the longest matches, according to him. And this was annoying. I think Eugene was a solid character, but then when they start pushing him into the Evolution storyline, that's when I'm like, okay, let's push back, because for Eugene to fight Triple H at SummerSlam, that is a stretch. Even Eugene would be like, "What are you guys doing?" But I mean, he got his moment, but at the end he lost. I mean, imagine if Eugene beat Triple H, people would have rioted. Years later, we have JBL versus The Undertaker, and this was around the time that Undertaker was slowly coming back as the Deadman. He still wasn't quite the Deadman that we know and love today, because he was still dressed as Biker Taker, since that's how he got buried. So it makes sense that we're slowly transitioning back into the Deadman that we know and love today, but he was still wrestling like the American Badass. JBL, he was too much of a coward. Like, I feel like he should have been a little bit more ruthless. Even if he had a backup, he should have been more badass instead of just being too much of a coward. I get it, he was facing The Undertaker, but like, even this was too much. Um, at one point, the referee gets beat up by Orlando Jordan. They use the referee to try to make the count. Eventually, JBL gets counted out. Eventually, JBL gets DQ'd, and then Undertaker just goes ballistic, beating up everybody gets in his path, even choke slamming JBL through the limousine. Um, I don't know. I just feel like they really should have done Eddie and JBL and then move on to this feud. I just feel like there was still a lot of meat left in the bone between Eddie and JBL. But I mean, who am I to judge? I mean, I could just rebook my own show sometime. Um, but the main event, which was the match of the night, Chris Benoit versus Randy Orton for the World Heavyweight Championship. I will agree, it was way too soon to give the belt to Randy Orton. It did lead into the Evolution breakup, which unfortunately led to Randy Orton losing in the long run. However, we all know that Randy Orton was very difficult to work with, so that's why he moved on to facing The Undertaker at Mania. And then he redeemed himself, because that would have buried Randy Orton for good. But Triple H, they clearly see him as the top guy still. So then eventually he gets the belt. Chris Benoit never recovered from this. He never really got another shot at the world title outside of maybe chamber matches or maybe like Raw matches. And that was an unfortunate thing. Like, yes, we all hate Chris Benoit for what he did, but they never kept him back on the top. And that's kind of unfortunate. I was happy to see Randy Orton get his victory, being the youngest world champion, even though he only won it because Brock Lesnar left them, so they wanted to break that record. Overall, this show, I just don't like it. There was one good match at the end. Everything else was garbage or alright at best. I'm giving it a D. I'm sorry. It's a bad show. I don't want to ever watch this again. I'll watch Benoit and Orton maybe once in a while if I want to recap Randy Orton's career or something, but I just don't care about this show, and it's nothing worth talking about. Anyways, 2005, I'm very excited to talk about that one, given the main event outcome. But anyways, when we get to that, we'll get to it. Take care, everybody.